نحمد ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. Today inshallah we will continue from verse number 83 of Surah Saffat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وإن من شيعته لإبراهيم. And indeed among his adherent was Ibrahim. So شيعته means man taba'ahu ala dinihi wa minhajihi, one who followed his religion and his ways. Meaning Ibrahim alayhi salam followed the way of Nuh alayhi salam, who was referred in the previous verses. And there was no difference in the basic principles of faith between them. إِذْ جَاءَ رَبَّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. When he came to his Lord with a sound heart. So Salim means بريء من كل اعتقاد باطل وخلق ذميم, free from all false beliefs and reprehensible manners. So the quality of Ibrahim alayhi salam is mentioned here, that he was pure in his worship towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without any speck of disbelief and ill intention. Notice how the verse focuses on a sound heart, not a logical mind. We saw the journey of Ibrahim alayhi salam, where he rejected various creations as Lord, one after another, as we found them defective. When he saw the stars, the moon, and the sun fade away, he knew they were not worthy of being worshipped. So initially he used his intellect and logical analysis in the search of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But once he was convinced, he became firm in his belief, and his heart remained free from any doubt about the supremacy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he had a sound heart, a content heart, a heart which was firm in its belief on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَاذَا تَعْبُدُونَ. And when he said to his father and his people, what do you worship? أَإِفْكًا آلِهَةً دُونَ اللَّهِ تُرِيدُونَ. Do you desire to have false gods other than Allah? فَمَا ظَنُّكُمْ بِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Then what is your thought about the Lord of the worlds? فَنَظَرَ نَظْرَةً فِي النُّجُومِ. And he cast a look at the stars. فَقَالَ إِنِّي سَقِيمٌ. And said, indeed, I am ill. To understand these verses, we need to understand the background. The people of Ibrahim alayhi salam used to worship idols. And in fact, the father of Ibrahim alayhi salam, his name was Azar, had the occupation of making idols from stone. When they had their annual festival and they invited Ibrahim alayhi salam to attend this event, Ibrahim alayhi salam did not want to go. And he had a different plan in mind. He actually wanted to use this opportunity while everyone is joining the festival to break the idols in his community. And in doing so, he would be able to show to the people around him that these idols were helpless in their defense. And one who cannot defend himself cannot be a lord. So when they asked Ibrahim alayhi salam to join the festival, he took a glance at the stars and then excused himself. So the question comes to mind, why did he look at the stars? Why did Quran specifically mention him looking towards the stars? Scholars have given many explanations why Ibrahim alayhi salam looked at the stars. Some say that this was just an involuntary glance. While he was preparing a response to excuse himself, he looked up towards the stars. But other scholars say that this was a tactic adopted by Ibrahim alayhi salam to convince his people, because the people of Ibrahim alayhi salam believed in astrology. And when he looked up to stars before excusing himself, they thought it was based on astrology, and so they believed him and left him alone, and Allah knows best. At this point, it is pertinent to discuss the status of astrology in Islam. First, let's define astrology. So astrology is an ancient set of practices that uses the positions of the sun, the moon, and the planets to derive knowledge of human affairs. So in other words, astrologists claim that depending on how these celestial bodies line up in the galaxy, a person may experience a favorable situation or an undesirable circumstance. Now, of course, this has no basis in Islam, since everything that occurs in this universe is with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you might be thinking, isn't it obvious to all Muslims that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ultimate power and the stars have no influence? The sad reality is that many Muslims also follow zodiac signs and daily horoscope, which are based on astrology. So you might hear people say, I'm Virgo and I have more compatibility with people who are Taurus, as an example. Or I checked my daily horoscope and it doesn't seem appropriate to start something new this month. And in extreme cases, people don't marry unless they are considered compatible on their zodiac signs. So all such thoughts are superstitious and reprehensible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Araf, verse 54, وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ وَالنُّجُومَ مُسَخَّرَاتٍ بِأَمْرِهِ. And he created the sun, the moon, the stars, subjected to his command. So all of those are under the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They do not bring any influence on the matters of human beings. We also learn from a narration how it is discouraged to consider stars to have any power, to the point where whoever believes such a thing would be committing a shirk. Narrated by Zayd bin Khalid al-Juhani in Bukhari, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, هل تدرون ماذا قال ربكم؟ قالوا الله ورسوله أعلم. قال أصبح من عبادي مؤمن بي وكافر فأما من قال مطرنا بفضل الله ورحمته فذلك مؤمن بي وكافر بالكوكب وأما من قال بنوع كذا وكذا فذلك كافر بي ومؤمن بالكوكب. Do you know what your Lord has said or revealed? People replied, Allah and His Apostle knows better. He said, Allah has said, in this morning some of my slaves remained as true believers and some became non-believers. Whoever said that the rain was due to the blessing and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had belief in me, and he disbelieves in the stars. And whoever said that it rained because of a particular star had no belief in me, but believes in that star. Another incident related to topic is when the sun eclipsed on the same day when the son of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ibrahim, passed away. So people started linking the two events. But Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam clarified the matter. Narrated by Al-Mughira bin Shu'bah in Bukhari, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, إِنَّ الشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمْرَ لَا يَنْكَسِفَانِ لِمَوْتِ أَحَدٍ وَلَا لِحَيَاتِهِ فَإِذَا رَأَيْتُمْ فَصَلُّوا وَادْعُوا اللَّهِ. The sun and the moon do not eclipse because of the death or life, that is birth of someone. When you see the eclipse, pray and invoke Allah. So in short, the lesson for us is not to indulge in the study of astrology, and in particular, not to follow zodiac signs and daily horoscope for our matters. Going back to the verse, we see another situation which requires an explanation. Ibrahim alayhi salam made an excuse. Inni saqim, I am sick. So the question is, why did he make this statement when he was not really sick? Isn't that a lie? Scholars explain the response of Ibrahim alayhi salam that it was based on the principle of tawriyah. What is tawriyah? Tawriyah means to say something that the listener understands its obvious meaning, its apparent meaning, but the speaker intends a rather remote meaning. As an example, imagine you have $5 in your pocket. If your friend asks you, do you have $1 with you? and you reply, I don't have a single dollar. This would be an example of tawriya that your friend might take the obvious meaning that you do not have any money, but you intended a remote meaning that you have more than a single dollar. So that's how you can understand the concept of tawriya. Coming back to the case of Ibrahim alayhi salam, scholars explained how he might have used these words inni saqim as tawriya. So if Ibrahim alayhi salam was really sick, he would have said the word marid, which means sick. But instead he used the word saqim for the sake of tawriya, because saqim also carries the meaning of unwilling or being averse to something. And Ibrahim alayhi salam was indeed disinclined towards the practices of shirk of the people around him. So he was unwilling to engage in their festival, and hence he used the word saqim. And Allah knows best. Now that we understand the meaning of tawriya, and also that Ibrahim alayhi salam would have used it in his speech, the question becomes, what is the Islamic ruling on tawriya? Is it permissible in the Sharia of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? So we see an example of tawriya by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself in a narration narrated by Hassan al-Basri in Shamal Tirmidhi. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, أتت عجوز إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالت يا رسول الله ادعو الله أن يدخلني الجنة فقال يا أم فلان إن الجنة لا تدخلها عجوز قال فولت تبكي فقال أخبروها أنها لا تدخلها وهي عجوز إن الله تعالى يقول إنا أنشأناهن إنشاء فجعلناهن أبكارا عربا أترابا. An old woman came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and said, O Messenger of Allah, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to let me enter the garden of paradise. He replied, O mother of so-and-so, no old woman will enter the garden of paradise. She turned away weeping. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, tell her that she will not enter it as an old woman, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have created them a new creation and made them virgins loving, equal in age. So clearly, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said something that had a deeper meaning, but what the woman understood was more the superficial meaning of it, the more apparent one. And hence we see how tawriya is permissible, since Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam applied it himself. فَتَوَلَّوْا عَنْهُ مُدْبِرِينَ. So they turned away from him, departing. فَرَاغَ إِلَىٰ آلِهَتِهِمْ فَقَالَ أَلَا تَأْكُلُونَ. Then he turned to their gods and said, do you not eat? مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنْطِقُونَ. What is wrong with you that you do not speak? فَرَاغَ عَلَيْهِمْ ضَرْبًا بِالْيَمِينِ. And he turned upon them a blow with his right hand. So فَرَاغَ إِلَىٰ آلِهَتِهِمْ means مَالَ بِخُفْيَةٍ مُسْرِعًا إِلَى الْأَصْنَامِ. Went secretly and quickly towards their idols. So when everyone left for the festival, Ibrahim alayhi salam went to the idols and started breaking them one after another, except the biggest one. فَأَقْبَلُوا إِلَيْهِ يَزِفُّونَ. Then the people came toward him, hastening. يَزِفُّونَ يَعَدُونَ مُسْرِعِينَ غَاضِبِينَ. Running in haste, in anger. When people learned about the incident, they realized it was Ibrahim alayhi salam who would have broken the idols, since he used to oppose idol worshipping. So they came dashing towards him in anger and questioned him about it. But Ibrahim alayhi salam was not afraid. What did he say? قَالَ أَتَعْبُدُونَ مَا تَنْحِتُونَ. He said, do you worship that which you yourselves carve? وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. While Allah created you and that which you do. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you and what you do, or it may mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you and what you make. And both have similar meanings. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was not afraid of people surrounding him and questioning him and threatening him for his actions. And instead, he used the opportunity to still give da'wah. قالوا ابنوا له بنيانا فألقوه في الجحيم. They said, construct for him a furnace and throw him into the burning fire. فأرادوا به كيدا فجعلناهم الأسفلين. And they intended for him a plan, but we made them the most debased. So the people of Ibrahim alayhi salam threw him into fire. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him and gave him the dignity, the respect. And instead, people who were against him were the ones who became the losers. As we learn in Surah Anbiya, verses 68 and 69, قالوا حرقوه وانصروا آلهتكم إن كنتم فاعلين قلنا يا نار كوني بردا وسلاما على إبراهيم. They said, burn him and support your gods if you are to act. We, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, said, O fire, be cool and safe upon Ibrahim. Let's review verses 83 to 98. Sound heart is a desirable quality and a sign of firm belief, and tawriya is a permissible practice in Islam and required. And one should strive to stop evil with any possible means. As we saw in the case of Ibrahim alayhi salam, he uses his hand to stop the evil. And if you can do so, that's the best way to stop the evil. But if you cannot, you can go to the second level of Iman, which is to talk about it with your tongue. And then if you cannot do that either, at the very least, think bad about it in your heart. And that's considered the lowest levels of Iman. وَقَالَ إِنِّي ذَاهِبٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي سَيَهْدِينَ. And then he said, indeed, I will go to where I am ordered by my Lord. He will guide me. This verse is pointing towards now another event in the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam. His people did not accept the message of Tawheed, except his wife Sarah alayhi salam and his nephew Lut alayhi salam. So Ibrahim alayhi salam migrated towards the place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had ordered him to go, and it was the land of Sham, Syria. And by that time, even at a very old age, Ibrahim alayhi salam had no children. So he made a dua that comes in the next verse. رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. My Lord, grant me a child from among the righteous. فَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ. So we gave him good tidings of a forbearing boy. So بِغُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ, meaning a patient child, a forbearing child. And here it's referring to Ismail alayhi salam. So Ismail alayhi salam was born to Hajar alayhi salam. And Hajar alayhi salam was a maid of Sarah alayhi salam. So Ibrahim alayhi salam did not have a child through Sarah alayhi salam, and he ended up also marrying the maid of Sarah alayhi salam, who was Hajar, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then granted Ismail alayhi salam as the first child of Ibrahim alayhi salam through Hajar alayhi salam. And then later on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted another son, Ishaq alayhi salam, through Sarah alayhi salam. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَىٰ فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ فَانظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَىٰ قَالَ يَا أَبَتِ افْعَلْ مَا تُؤْمَرُ سَتَجِدُنِي إِن شَاءَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الصَّابِرِينَ. And when he reached with him the age of exertion, he said, O my son, indeed I have seen in a dream that I must sacrifice you. So see what you think. He said, O my father, do as you are commanded. You will find me, if Allah wills, of the steadfast. So بلغ معه السعي means وصل درجة العمل معه وقضاء حوائجه. We reached the age to work with him. So imagine how difficult was this test for Ibrahim alayhi salam. He did not have any children until very old age, around 86 years old. Then he got blessed with Ismail alayhi salam, who grew up to the age of about 13 years. And at this age is when he was ready to work beside Ibrahim alayhi salam and support him. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders Ibrahim alayhi salam through a dream to sacrifice his only son. But look at the obedience of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He did not hesitate to obey perhaps the toughest command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And look at how he also approached the situation with his son. He had an open dialogue with Ismail alayhi salam and even asked his opinion. What do you think about this command? Ismail alayhi salam also acted like the most obedient son and someone with a very strong faith. He did not delay in submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's order, even if that meant losing his own life. And look at how he responds with firm conviction and the best of etiquettes by saying, Insha'Allah, Insha'Allah, you will find me among those who are patient. فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَ وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. And when they had both submitted, and he put him down upon his forehead. So aslama means istaslama li amrillah, when they both accepted the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ أَلْقَاهُ عَلَى جَانِبِ جَبْهَتِهِ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ. Meaning Ibrahim alayhi salam put Ismail alayhi salam with his face down towards the ground. وَنَادَيْنَاهُ أَيْ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ. We called to him, O Ibrahim. قَدْ صَدَّقْتَ الرُّؤْيَا إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. You have fulfilled the vision. Indeed, we thus reward the doers of good. إِنَّ هَذَا لَهُوَ الْبَلَاءُ الْمُبِينُ. Indeed, this was the clear trial. وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. And we ransomed him with a great sacrifice. So when both Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam agreed to fulfill the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they went towards a place of sacrifice. And Ibrahim alayhi salam was stopped 3 times by shaitan to divert him from his plan. But he remained steadfast, and instead he threw pebbles at shaitan. When they reached the place of sacrifice, Ismail alayhi salam put his head down on the ground and got prepared to be slaughtered. At that moment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a ram down, which was then sacrificed by Ibrahim alayhi salam. And thus he saved Ismail alayhi salam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appreciated the obedience of Ibrahim alayhi salam so much that the practice of sacrifice on Eid al-Adha, as well as the stoning of Jamrat during Hajj, has been established among Muslims till the end of time. Allahu Akbar. It is also relevant to note that Jews and Christians believe that Ishaq alayhi salam was the one chosen for sacrifice. But majority of Islamic scholars, including Ibn Kathir, prove that Ibrahim alayhi salam was ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to sacrifice Ismail alayhi salam. So it was the first son, Ismail alayhi salam, who was to be sacrificed in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. And we left for him favorable mention among later generation. So وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ أَبْقَيْنَا لَهُ ذِكْرًا حَسَنًا فِي مَنْ جَاءَ بَعْدَهُ. Good mention of him for people who came after him. سَلَامٌ عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ. Peace upon Ibrahim. كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Indeed, we thus reward the doers of good. إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Indeed, he was of our believing servants. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these verses praises Ibrahim alayhi salam and sends blessings upon him and declares him to be among the believing servants and among those who would receive the best rewards. وَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِإِسْحَاقَ نَبِيًّا مِّنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. And we gave him good tidings of Ishaq, a prophet from among the righteous. وَبَارَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ وَعَلَى إِسْحَاقَ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِهِمَا مُحْسِنٌ وَظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ مُبِينٌ. And we blessed him and Ishaq, but among their descendants is the doer of good and the clearly unjust to himself. Next, the other son of Ibrahim alayhi salam is mentioned, who was born to Sarah alayhi salam when Ibrahim alayhi salam was about 99 years old. And this verse clearly refutes the belief that Jews are the chosen nation and they are guaranteed salvation simply because they are the descendants of the prophets. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares that the progeny of Ishaq alayhi salam and that of Yaqub alayhi salam will have both types of people. They would have good people and they would have unjust people. So just by having that bloodline with these prophets is not enough for the ultimate salvation as considered by Jews. Let's review verses 99 to 113. It was indeed the first son, Ismail alayhi salam, who was chosen for sacrifice, and not Ishaq alayhi salam. The sacrifice of animal is an established practice now for all Muslims based on the incident of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And the progeny of Ishaq alayhi salam includes both good and unjust people, unlike the belief that Jews maintain today. So we'll stop here inshallah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم